channel. Before we proceed on to the actual content of this video, I do want to make a very quick announcement. I did mention a few months back that I'm working on a personal project, photography related of course, and I finally finished that back in late January, almost end of January. I'm excited to present to you my photography magazine. It's named after my photography website, their Pinsel, and issue 1 is entitled Familiarity, and these are photos that I've taken in Havana, Cuba. I got on 28 pages, all colored, premium paper, and these are also all taken using film with my Konica Hexar and Kodak Ektar. A few rolls of Kodak Ektar because these are all over. The photos were taken from different rolls of film. But anyway, if you are interested, and I'll be more than happy if you get a copy, feel free to go to my online store at their pinsel.bigcartel.com. I am doing a limited run of this copy, and the next issue might be either photos featuring my photos or my husband's, because he wanted to make his own as well, because he never prints his photos. But anyway, again, derpinsel.bigcartel.com. It's $10 plus $5 flat rate shipping internationally, and that's in Canadian funds. And my store accepts PayPal and credit card, and they're all secured transactions. I do send the magazines within around 48 hours after the purchase. So anyway, again, I really appreciate it if you do support me. Again, I do have a limited run of this magazine, and it's pretty much like labor of love, because I really like seeing my photos on print, and this is just one way for me to do it. So anyway, again, derpinsel.bigcartel.com. Thank you so much, and on to the actual content of this video. Bye! Today I'm featuring 3 Pentax bodies, the ME-F, the ES, and the MX. My husband seemed to have caught the Pentax bug a few years ago, and I've started buying them because of their usability and portability. I thought this is a great opportunity to feature these camera bodies on my channel. The first camera featured on this video is the Pentax ME-F. This was introduced by Asahi Optical back in 1981 and had a 3-year run in the market. The ME-F is part of the Pentax M series SLR and is a heavily modified version of another SLR, the Pentax ME Super. This camera also was the first camera with a TTL autofocus system. One thing you'll notice on this camera was the lack of aperture dial. Instead, you'll find a simplified shutter mode dial that points to several speed options, including an L option to lock the camera. Otherwise, all you really need to select is the auto and use the square buttons to select your aperture, which you can see when you peek in the viewfinder. You will see a green light at the bottom of the finder once the camera finds that you have the correct exposure. Speaking of the viewfinder, I really like that it has a bright one with split screen, as it's easier for me to focus. The rest of the knobs include the sound button, which also tells you when your photo is correctly metered, an exposure compensation dial, your ISO selector, and the focus selector, which for the most part you will leave at 2.8. The ME-F also came with an autofocus zoom lens, which is hefty because of a focusing motor, and therefore you had to put 4 AA batteries in it. This on top of 4 LR44 batteries that the body needs, and you can really say this camera takes a lot of energy. My lens unfortunately has stopped working because the batteries were left inside, so obviously it corroded and was beyond salvation, although I haven't tested whether it will work manually. I own 2 ME-F bodies. The first one was given to me by my aunt sometime in 2008. She told me she once took interest in photography, which led to her purchase of this camera, but she ended up not picking up the hobby as life took over. However, the camera stopped working shortly after I ran a test roll, and it took me a while to find another working body. I'm hoping to use the second body for parts so I can get to keep my aunt's camera as an heirloom.
This is the Pentax MX, which was made from 1976 to 1985. This is a purely mechanical K-mount SLR, which only needs batteries for the meter. I got this camera at a local camera fair and came with a plain focusing screen. I wanted a split image screen, so I started searching for parts on eBay and Kijiji. In the space of a few months, really not sure what happened, but I ended up with 2 chrome and 1 black body Pentax MXs, all in great condition. And I was able to get the split screen that I wanted. So the split screen, you can easily swap it between the cameras, so made it easier for me to do that. Didn't have to mess around with any screws, or this is actually disassembling the camera, so that's pretty cool. I like this camera because it has a large viewfinder and a compact body. The dials and the film advance lever feels extremely solid. The finder is not as good as the Olympus OM1, but I find it more compact, so this gets more use than the OM1. In addition, Pentax lenses are great. I remember shooting with this dirt cheap standard kit lens, a 50mm 1.7, and I really like the images from it. I have built my standard 28, 35, 50 kit for this camera. I have a 28 3.5, 35 2.8, and a 51.7 all SMC Pentax Ms. I brought this camera to Copenhagen in Iceland last year, and it performed admirably. Second camera is fairly new to me, the Pentax ES. This camera is an M42 mount aperture priority capable screw mount camera with a stepless 8-second to 1/1000th of a second shutter. I was initially put off by this because I thought it was entirely battery dependent, but I learned after buying the camera that the 60 to 1000 shutter speeds are fully mechanical, no batteries required. Only the 1 second to 1/30 speeds are electronically controlled. Pretty cool for a camera introduced in 1971. I have only ran 1 roll through this camera, which is my test roll, and I'm already liking the results. Again, Pentax glass is amazing. I have the SMC Takumar's M42 mounts, of course, 28 3.5, 35 3.5, 55 1.8, 55 f2, and the 51.4. The 51.4 is pretty special. Looks great wide open and has the swirly out of focus highlights. Top-notch build quality, almost feels German if you ask me. Nothing really more to add aside from that. I got this camera from a guy in Alberta. I actually found his ad on the Alberta Kijiji. When I sent him the email asking that if I wanted the camera, I wasn't really serious in buying the camera because I know some sellers don't really like shipping their goods. Like they favor a person-to-person meetup, but this guy actually said yes. And when I got this email, it's like, well, okay, I guess I own a Pentax ES now. So yeah, this camera was CLA'd by a famous Pentax repairman. The name escapes me right now, but I'll be sure to add in the description for that at the bottom.